Hello everyone, welcome back to Trek A Day. I can't believe we are celebrating the 59th anniversary of Star Trek and getting into preparing for the 60th anniversary. I still vividly remember being a kid and watching the 25th anniversary special. Still my VHS tape of that, and now it's been far longer since that 25th anniversary special than it was from the beginning to that 25th, and I can't believe that. It is crazy to think about. We don't know a whole lot going into the 60th anniversary yet as far as what the plans are, but I think next year is going to be huge. As we know, rendering kind of the final stage of Strange New Worlds, and that upcoming Academy series is going to premiere very early next year. I think next year is going to be the real year of where we start to see the foundation for the future of Star Trek laid down. I think that the combination of the merger and the possible changes of leadership and direction behind the scenes, along with being that kind of lining up with a huge anniversary, the 60th anniversary, I think is an excellent chance for a lot of well-timed promotion, and hopefully that they take advantage of that. In the meantime, there have been a few announcements of things that are coming out starting yesterday and then in the very near future, starting off with the Khan audio drama that's been talked about for a while, and I've been curious about this, getting into the events on SETI Alpha 5. We've already had like a book about this and a little bit, but I'm really hoping that this really adds to that story, adds some more detail to it, and we get a real good audio drama presentation, because I grew up loving the Star Trek audiobooks on cassette primarily as a kid, and so this really appeals to me. The first episode dropped yesterday. I've not had a chance to check it out, but I know the reviews have been really good. There's a lot of talent involved in the writing and production of this series. The voice cast seems perfect for what they seem to be trying to accomplish with this, so my hopes are actually pretty high. I do want to check that out. I think it could be really good, and I'm really interested in that story and how they present it. They also teased an official collaboration with LEGO. And then we have a real oddball, a new series coming from Nick Jr. aimed at the preschool age demographic for Star Trek. And this seems very strange to me, because I think it's a good idea, but I'm really worried about, one, the timing and the quality. One, why I think it's a good idea. Star Trek and the ideas and principles behind Star Trek, I think, are a great foundation for early learning, and early learning is very important. Someone who went to school for education, spent most of my life working with much younger kids, either babysitting, watching kids before and after school for years, and helping out with homework, and I spent a lot of time looking at what has been airing over the decades, starting, of course, with myself as a little kid for that age demographic, and a lot of it has really been on the decline, and part of it is the willingness, it feels like, more from a budgetary and like kind of a studio perspective, not really the people actually involved in the shows. There seems to be at least a lot of effort there in creating a quality product for that age demographic. I feel like there is an idea that, it's just kind of little kids, we can just put in very little effort and put out slop, and I think that's why there's been a change, sadly, over time, from a lot of hand-drawn animation, a lot of quality stuff that is the same quality as what you'd be putting out there for an adult audience. Don't treat them as little growing minds, not as just these just colors on the screen, because this is aimed towards the demographic where it's not for 1-year-olds, it's for those kids who are really at the beginning of their learning journey. And things have shifted into this very cheap, low-effort CG animation. And just from what I've been seeing over the past 10-15 years or so, even the quality of the writing and how they're approaching the entertainment for little kids, there have been really good things still out there, but it's been a little bit harder to find. And that's my worry with seeing the style of this show, is that I think there's great potential for a Star Trek show aiming for a younger demographic than Star Trek has ever done before. I think that could be really cool interesting, beneficial way of getting kids interested in science, getting kids interested in astronomy, kind of in the way that there was a good show. Again, the quality of the animation kind of let it down, but Ready Jet Go on PBS had elements, especially some of the live action kind of mini lessons with a Dr. Amy Mainzer, I think her name was, that seemed to really hold the attention of kids and get them interested in learning about the kind of things that a Star Trek show could do a good job with. But so I'm worried about it's not going to live up to its potential. And then also the timing, because when you do something like this, I feel like you're trying to get the really young age demographic into Star Trek, have an interest, but then you need the next steps. They need something like Prodigy, which is aimed at the next step, the slightly older kids into preteens. And Prodigy's over, it's still there, but I think it's even supposed to be leaving most of the streaming services, Netflix, by the end of this year. Who knows what's going to happen there? So is it going to be easily accessible for the kids a few years down the line, unless they own it on DVD or Blu-ray? And then as they get a little bit older, the next step would be something like a TNG. Again, in 3 or 4, maybe 5 years from now, are we going to have a new ongoing show that they'll be interested in that has that kind of vibe, the sort of family style Star Trek? Or will they again have to go to TNG itself or Voyager or something like that, like an older show? It feels like this is out of place and it's not the right moment unless you have those later stages for the kids to kind of grow with Star Trek in place, and so it doesn't seem like they do right now. So it's kind of a weird thing to just throw out there. And again, I'm worried that it's not going to be quite as good as it needs to be, but who knows? So it's just sort of a very odd thing to throw out there and feels really out of place. And that's really it for now. Again, I was never really expecting to see a whole lot for this 59th anniversary because of what's happening with changes behind the scenes and a big anniversary 60th coming out next year. I feel like everything is going to be more leaning towards that. And last thing, I just wanted to talk a little bit about what the next video series is going to be in that favorites line that I've been doing. I have a few smaller scale, like kind of shorter topics I want to get into, but I have one longer one, kind of multi-part one to get into. I started off pretty early in this channel with the biggest one ever, my top 100 favorite episodes in all of Star Trek. I did a series on my favorite characters. Before we get into some of the shorter ones, most of them will be like one video. Another longer series will be my favorite seasons of Star Trek. I'm going to do my top 30. We're approaching the 60th anniversary. There haven't been quite 60 seasons of Star Trek yet. We're actually getting really, really close though, but I decided, hey, I'll do like half of that, do 30. And this is another one that really had to put a lot of thought into and was difficult, and why I thought it'd be interesting is that a season as a whole is very different to look at than individual episodes. Sometimes a season might contain a handful of real standouts that I absolutely love that are in my top 100, but maybe the actual whole season has a lot of problems, isn't an absolute favorite. And sometimes the other way around, there could be a season, I can think of a couple examples where there really only one or two real standouts, maybe it doesn't get a lot of representation in my talk about my absolute favorite individual episodes, but it was a pretty solid season overall, and might have a lot of fond memories attached to it. So it's just kind of a different angle to look at Star Trek over the 59 years and talk about it in that fashion. So that is one that'll be upcoming in the future. Just want to talk about that. And that's it for today, and it's just about time to check out the last episode of this season of Strange New Worlds.